and welcome to the Epic Awesome Show. And here with us today we have the one and only Jackie Kana Florian.
Hi, everybody.
Yay! So anybody who does not know who this is Kana from 91.8 The Fan, who is also runs the show Kana's Corner.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
it's every weekday from noon to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, cool. So, how exactly did you get started with 91.8 The Fan?
Well, it's interesting because when we started 91.8 The Fan, it wasn't just my idea. It didn't just come, from my head, but everybody thinks it does. When it started, there was three of us, Sandy, Kibbs, and myself. And through the years, they've dropped off for their own reasons, and now I'm the sole proprietor. But the reason that it all started is we wanted to do something to pay back to the English anime community, to the Western anime community, because at the time ADV, shut their doors, and it was kind of a dark period. The bubble had burst, and people were feeling the effects of it. So that's why we started 91.8 The Fan, because there was nothing quite like it at the time, and online radio was still really in an immature stage. So initially, our very first year, we didn't even have the station at all. Our very first year was literally just sorting out royalties because we had no guide to follow. We could have very simply, just filed with Sound Exchange and BMI and all of those places and been fine. But then a lot of those Japanese and Korean and Chinese artists wouldn't have gotten any royalty money, because if they're not listed in a lot of these catalogs, they just pocket the money. They don't send it or try and seek out the artist.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah, it's crazy actually. It's kind of it's a huge shame. So a lot of our first year was literally approaching not only the royalty companies in Japan and other Asian territories, but the publishing companies, so like Sony Music Japan and things like that, so we could strike deals with them, so we could help support their artists and make sure that this money actually got to where it needed to go.
No, okay. So how did Bree, your mascot, actually come up to be?
Oh gosh, I remember this. So Bree was a surprise. At the time, Sandy was really obsessed with a character from Sayonara Zetsuba Sensei, the one, I forget her name, but the one that always goes gee, and she stalks the teacher. And so I knew that we wanted a black-haired mascot, and I paid for it, and I looked through a bunch of artists on DeviantArt, and I found Bara-chan, and we talked a little bit about the design. I personally wanted longer hair, so we went with the longer hair. We wanted to have some sort of Japanese relation to it, because obviously the fan is very focused on anime and Japanese pop culture, and headphones. So we wanted her to be kind of like a dancer, a rave girl, or a DJ of sorts. And we got a bunch of different designs, and then I finally revealed to Sandy what I was doing, and we decided on the final colors, and then we got Bree. And Bree was given her name because we all used to play a game called Penya, and one of the mascots in the game was called Bree. So that is the long-winded story of how we got Bree. But
I see.
I'm very protective of Bree. I love to see fan art of her, but I've had to wiggle my finger at some of the DJs who pop into the IRC and pretend to be Bree and say really weird things, and I have to be like, no. Almost like it's a daughter or something. You can't act like that if you're going to be Bree.
So how does Bree act?
Well, Bree is supposed to be, kind of a party girl, but she's supposed to be really positive. Party girl doesn't mean that she's getting drunk every night and going the Kesha or the Britney Spears route. And she's not twerking with her tongue out like Miley Cyrus, but...
Why? Why'd you give me that? Oh.
Well,
I'm
it's...
not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
Modern pop culture, what do you expect? But, no, Bree was meant to be, kind of the go get 'em sort of energetic type of anime character. So because she is supposed to be, Japanese, she does very much have a Japanese mindset in terms of politeness, and that's why she's not like up until 4 a.m. every day and like making her neighbors go crazy with so she likes to play and she likes to party, but she's also not a nuisance.
Yeah. So what are some of the problems that you face with doing your guys' live shows?
Just with the live shows in general, well, I'm going to point out some of my earlier DJs. Back in the day in our first year, we were kind of driving blind. It was kind of a scary experience, and we just had to experiment. And we had rules, but we weren't sure the best way to, kind of convey them to people who were in training. And that's been a consistent struggle for the first 2 years, and now it's more uniform. But I remember earlier DJs would be like, I don't know if I could say this on air, but I'm going to say it anyway. And then they'd say like a curse word, and I'd be like, no! And I'd be waiting for them as soon as they got off air, just like, tapping my foot like, no, like this stare.
Yeah.
So things like that. Some of the things that we even still struggle with today is in the past year we've been doing live shows, like live DJ mixes and things at conventions and live concerts broadcast over the radio, and this is brand new for us. And the first like 2 or 3 times it was a huge struggle because you have to make sure all of the wires are going in and out, all the sound's going in and out the way it needs to, with the PA system, with the DJ gear, into the program we use. It's a fun time. So the very first time we did it, somebody from the con came by who was their audio guy. Not only did he break my mic port on my laptop, thanks guy, but he turned on the mic that was purposely disabled because it was the laptop internal microphone, and that's what was being broadcast out to the fans. And not a single fan told us it was bad or wrong. I only found out later when I listened to the recording, and I was like, oh my god, that's what happened. So yeah, live shows are fun.
Yeah, so what has been one of your favorite moments of working with the fan?
Oh gosh, there's so many to count. I mean, the reason I still do 91.8 The Fan is because I love it. It's a crew that, I didn't expect to get, and I enjoy it pretty much every day that I do it. There are so many moments, I've got to talk with so many great people. David Hayter was like the one person I fangirled so hard over. If anyone goes back and listens to that interview, you'll hear, would you like to introduce yourself? And then he does the snake voice, and my voice kind of cracks, and I'm like, it's so great that you did that. But I think the thing that I really love about the fan is going to these conventions and interacting with the fans themselves.
Yeah.
And not only the fans, but the staff that invite us out. For example, now when we go to YomaCon, it feels like a family reunion. Last year when I went up stage for closing ceremonies, I got kind of teary and sad that it was over. Those 3-4 days of seeing these people that I would only see once a year, it kind of hit me like, whoa, I won't get to interact with these people at all. And those are the moments that make me feel basically alive, and that I remember more of the fan than anything are these personal, human interactions, whether it's at a convention or it's on air.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer is long.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you guys to start going to cons?
We were going to cons before the radio launched. So the radio officially launched January 3rd, 2010, and then the year prior we were going to conventions as press to try and garner interest and to get contacts so we could actually establish a base for interviews and things like that. So we very much hit the pavement instead of sitting back in our chairs. Like a lot of websites now, you know, they wait until they get bigger to start going to conventions, but I really feel that you have to make that step to interact with people and shake their hand and say, hey, this is me, I do this. You have to really put yourself out there.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. Totally do. Let's see here. Yeah. So no, I don't want that one. So how did you actually get started with Kana's Corner, with the interviewing?
It's interesting because a lot of people think that I just want to be the star. I won't lie. I do have an ego. I'm not gonna pretend that I don't enjoy getting the chance to interview these people and having my own show. But I was kind of just pointed at and like, you get to do it. I was like, why me? Well, you'll be the best at it. Okay, so that was an agreement made between the three founders initially, and so I've just kept it since. I mean, there have been times where I have thought about, stepping down that role, and there have been chances where other DJs have gotten to interview people. For example, Elk got to interview Mike Z on his show the same day I interviewed a guest. And he was ecstatic, and I'd love to do stuff like that again. Yeah. It's just the opportunity arises because I do think everybody should get a chance, assuming that they won't fangirl or fanboy on it.
Yeah. Now, so out of all the interviews that you've done on Kana's Corner, which has been one of your favorite to do?
Well, I won't say it's my absolute super duper favorite because I love all the ones I do, and it's really hard to choose. But one that has stuck with me for years has been the one I did with Scott Simpson, who was the voice of Keiichi and the OVAs from Oh My Goddess. And you might be thinking, like, why? He's really mostly known for that role in the anime community. And the reason was, if you go back and you listen to that interview, he knew that character so well. Like, he thought about every sort of way that character would react in any sort of situation. Like, he had like sat down next to that character and pretended to be a therapist, all those years ago. And he just still had it with him, like it was a part of him. And there was something that I really respected about that, because in today's age of technology and voiceover, people just have to do voice roles as fast as possible. It has to be really snappy and really fast. And at the time, this was in the 90s, it wasn't such a rat race, if you will. Like, he had time to look up his character and process his character. And the casting for that show, at the time, he was going out with Belldandy. Like, the director didn't even know it, and he cast the two people going out together in a love story, which is, it's beautiful. And I don't think you really have that anymore, and I know why. It's because the business has changed. But I found out so much about the history of the business and the way an actor can really learn about their character in that interview.
Yeah. So how long does it usually take? So how do you usually go about getting people to interview on? Let me rephrase that. How do you usually? Why is this so hard? It's a question here. I've worded this so stupidly.
How do we usually get book people on the fan?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's the question I was going after. Just for some reason it just wasn't sinking in.
You're fine. I've totally had those moments. Sometimes you have to keep talking and then find the question in your conversation. And then sometimes you have to segue because you couldn't find it at all.
Yeah, that's true.
But with 91.8 The Fan, initially, well, actually, no. We've always had just one person getting the guests. So we've always had one guest relations manager at a time. And that person, you know, generally they might be submitted a list of guests by fans, by me, by staff members. Somebody might get a bunch of cards from a convention like, here, they want to do an interview, they want to do an interview. And so they have this whole big list. But for anybody that they can't find, they start looking through agencies, they start looking at social media, they start looking at different ways to approach these people. At this point, the cool thing is now we can just go back in our emails and be like, oh, well, we have this person's address. But, you know, it really just depends on the talent, because it's easier to get a hold of newer talent. You know, they're not as guarded, and I say this cautiously because a lot of talent, you know, they've been in the industry for so long, they've met those fans, and I think you know what fans I'm talking about.
Yeah, the really, really hyper active, yay, it's you, huggy.
Yeah, or they're extremely, like, personable and don't know about, you know, space. So with with voice actors who are new to the business, they haven't had that experience, so they're more open to doing an interview. And we do pride ourselves on trying to get voice actors as soon as we can before anybody else. However, for people who are a little bit harder to get because they have a full schedule, I would definitely recommend, if anybody out there is looking to interview talent, to work your way up to the bigger names. That's something that we didn't do. And so some of the beginning interviews are awkward, and I'm shaky, and it's just like, oh God, I'm talking to so-and-so. And they might be willing to take a chance on you, but you want to make sure that you're grounded enough to do it. Luckily, with our reputation, we can generally approach just about anybody and say, hey, you know, would you like to do an interview? And they can just look at our website or our archive and see how much experience we have.
Yeah, so how long does it usually take for you to get prepared for each interview?
This is the answer that is going to make people mad. So generally, sometimes I have to clarify this. Sometimes I'm given a call and I'm told, you have 5 minutes, go. And then I don't have any prep time at all. I just have to make it work right in that moment. In fact, if I recall correctly, I had to do that with Troy Baker when Final Fantasy 13 came out, which was really hilarious because we knew who was in Final Fantasy 13. We wanted to book a Final Fantasy week, and we could not. They refused to let us book anyone until the game was out because of EAS. So, like, even if we said, well, can we just book them for an interview and not say it's for Final Fantasy, they were like, no, you can't. And we were like, okay, fine, fair enough. You know, like, I understand. But anyway, in terms of getting ready, I usually only spend about an hour to 30 minutes beforehand, because I want the content to be very fresh in my mind, and I don't want it to be overthought. There are certain interviews where, for example, when I talked with American McGee, the guy who did the Alice in Wonderland games, which are fabulous. If you haven't played those, please do. I love the world he creates, and I love the games personally, and so I didn't have to look anything up. You know, I looked up his latest titles, but I literally spent like an hour and a half with somebody else simply talking about the games and what I enjoyed about them, just so there was this conversation that was fresh in my mind. I don't like writing down questions if I don't have to, and the big reason for that is because I want the conversation to continue going. If I have a set of questions and I'm stuck to this set of questions, I can never go off into a tangent or anything. So if I have like, how did you get into the business? What is your favorite role? I could just cookie cutter it for every interview. And then if they get off into a tangent and I pull them back, you know, with the next question, I missed that opportunity to learn something new that nobody else might have asked them. So I purposely don't spend too long on it. And it's not because I don't care. It's literally just because I want it to be more of a discussion and a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, because even, oh boy, I don't even want to say how long I actually take doing these things.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
if notes make you feel better,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not obviously I'm not downing you for using notes or anybody out because people obviously use questions, and
Yeah.
some guests will ask specifically to have the questions beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to say, here is my broad list of questions, but if we go off on a tangent, I would like to continue that tangent until the next question.
Yeah.
I like to assure them that it's a very relaxed interview. I'm not going to pressure them and say, what role that you obviously can't talk about are you going to talk about with me? And when they say no comment, come on, I'm not going to
Yeah.
nudge them for information to get my answer because I'm not trying to be a jerk when they're on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I want them to enjoy themselves, and I want the fans to enjoy themselves, and hopefully a fun conversation or discussion comes out of it.
Yeah, so that way they keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going back on the lines of DJing here, so what is your favorite style of music you like to play while you DJ?
That's super obvious. If I say Girls' Generation, no. Obviously we have rules, so we can't. I can't just do Girls' Generation all day, every day.
Yeah.
But I love, South Korean pop. I love the kind of innocence to it that Western pop doesn't have. But by the same token, I really like stuff like Kanashimi, who has a softer voice but still has a very pronounced beat, or Yuya Matsushita. So something that's a little bit more chill but can also go very dancey. That's generally where I.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and get in a little bit of random type questions.
Perfect.
All right, so it's gonna be randomness here. So as a fan of anime, and also a voice actor as well. So what do you think of, especially Funimation doing it a lot of it right now is the simuldubbing?
I've been waiting for that for years. I've actually said on my show previously, now that we have simulcast with subtitles, I can't wait for somebody to do the dub thing because somebody is going to be smart enough to do it. And Funimation, as always, ahead of the pack, proved that they could do it. And with Space Dandy, the fact that we were technically ahead of the Japanese airing,
really?
Yes,
That was ahead.
When we were an hour or two ahead, so it aired.
Okay.
Yeah, it aired on Toonami in English, and then it would air in Japan, and it was still really fantastic to see that because it means that the companies are willing to kind of go with anime fans' outrageous demands. And before I get hate for that, the reason I say that is because we don't get that same thing with like some of the shows in Britain or some of the shows in Australia or New Zealand or whatever.
Yeah.
The only content that you get like this is anime.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I applaud Funimation for doing that. However, we do run back into the problem I talked about earlier, which means they have to go faster. However, it is consistent work, so pros and cons. What do you do with it,
Yeah, which is actually really interesting, too, about it as well, is that with the Funimation thing is, like, all their simuldubs, none of them ever, so far, it's what I've heard of them, none of them actually have been bad.
I mean, I have an elite subscriber subscription or whatever it's called.
I don't know what it is called, actually.
It's like EVS or like Elite Viewer Subscription or something. But either way, I haven't gotten a chance to see any from this season.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect that I watch all anime all the time, but like the last anime I completed was Chiaki on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Love Live, so I'm super behind on everything by like a year.
Geez.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen it. I've seen trailers and things like that, but I've not watched any of the latest episodes. So
definitely, a lot of them are really good, especially with and by the way too, it's all access pass.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be Elite something,
Oh,
so
it used to be Elite? No,
yeah,
we're not
maybe
Elite anymore? Oh,
I guess not.
I'm hurt now.
Yeah,
So, out of
thanks,
all the...
Funimation.
What?
I said thanks, Funimation.
Funimation's still awesome.
I know. I mean, I don't want to pick favorites, but they're still one of my they're definitely one of my favorites. They're up there in terms of a consumer because as a consumer, I love their products.
And they got cheap anime.
I love their products.
Exactly. So going on the lines of anime here, so what is one of your favorite anime?
Sailor Moon, which is the most typical answer you're ever going to hear, but I love the original Sailor Moon dub, and a lot of that show kind of changed my life and gave me a lot of moral support. Like, there's so many lessons I learned in that show about loving myself and taking care of my friends and fighting for what I believe in, and it's very much defined who I am today. And it sounds really silly, but I will always keep Sailor Moon very close to my heart. So.
Yeah, I don't judge. Judge it all because I like Sailor Moon as well. Unfortunately,
I thought you were gonna say like Rainbow Bright or Strawberry Shortcake.
Oh, not My Little Pony. No, not that. But going on the lines of Sailor Moon, so what is your thoughts on the new Sailor Moon dub?
It's very conflicting for me as somebody who has always liked the older dub and has enjoyed the cheesiness of the older dub. So watching the new people, what's really funny is like 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, when they finally re-release Sailor Moon is going to be Christina V and Johnny Young Bosch is going to be Tuxedo Mask. And they're not, but they're both in it.
Yeah.
Called that casting win.
But isn't Johnny Young Bosch in everything though?
Now he is, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like for a while there, it's like couldn't get away from everything I watched had Johnny Young Bosch in it for some odd reason. I have no idea, but
it was definitely when he got Ichigo. Because he went from Vash the Stampede, and then he went from Wolf's Rain, and then he got the role in Bleach. And I'm sorry, there was Eureka 7, or Eureka 7 in between that. And then he went to Bleach, and then he was in everything.
Almost like Kyle. He's in everything.
Or Yuri. Yuri had a time of that too, where he was just...
Yes, that's true. That is true. Both Kyle and, both of them in the same one, Gurren Lagann. Yeah,
I mean, they work really hard. They deserve what they get. But
definitely.
The new dub, it's good for a new audience. As an older fan, as I said, it's really difficult for me. But also as an older fan, it's actually really difficult for me to watch any Crystal because I think Crystal is poorly animated.
Oh wow, really?
Oh yeah, I know they fixed it in the Blu-ray and everything. It looks really bad. I don't like the 3D transformations. Why do people like the 3D transformations?
I don't know.
Because, it's so odd to see. I know that they're using computers to do everything, but it's so odd to see, like, something that looks so 2D and then it switches really quickly to 3D models, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? I don't like this. And they've got some proportion and some stretch issues that I'm not a fan of. And I'm going to wait for it to finish airing or doing whatever it is. I'm going to binge watch it, and then I'm going to go, okay, I watched it, and make my final opinion. Yeah. But I got I think I got 8 or 9 episodes in, and I was like, oh my god, this hurts so bad.
Yeah, totally can understand that.
Strong opinions there. Sorry for everybody else.
So, alright. So going on a little bit away here. I don't know if it's going away from anything, but if you can meet anyone throughout the history of the world, who would it be and why?
Meet anyone from the history of the world?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh gosh.
Uh-oh.
I know. I have to think about it. This is something that is just such a major question. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to think, like, who would be, like, my ideal person. So while I think about this, what interesting answers have you received for this one?
I've received Buddha, Jesus. I don't remember. I've received, like, every time I've asked this question, I mean, it's a normal question, it's the same question, I usually ask it almost every interview, and I actually don't remember.
You know, I think if I was between two different people, Boris Korloff and Bela Lugosi, but I think I'd really want to meet Bela Lugosi, who, I mean, he died way before my time.
Yeah.
He died like 3 years after my mom was born, so he's the Dracula that we all know.
Yeah.
And I'm a major, horror buff, and I would just like to talk about, acting at the time and how he formed this sort of character and a lot about his life. He went through so many hardships, and I feel like having a conversation with someone like that would actually still benefit me a lot today and help me understand my craft in terms of voiceover as well. So
Yeah.
definitely Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
I had to really think about it. Like I was debating in my head, and like the options are endless, but that's who I would go with.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think anyone's ever said Bela Lugosi, so.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
So on top of not only doing the 91.8 The Fan with interviewing and everything else, you also do a little bit of singing.
Singing is kind of an interesting thing. All of the singing stuff that we're currently doing is sort of under wraps, so I can't say too much.
Oh, okay.
I'm currently featured on a song that's going to be released by the Survivors of the PC, and that might be performed at a convention soon in Detroit, but I can't say for sure. It's not my decision.
Yeah.
But we are working on a lot of singing stuff. I have material for a full album, as well as cover work, and that'll be released on my YouTube, which I believe you're going to post the link, but my YouTube name is just Kana Network. I should have changed it to Jackie Florian or something, but nope, Kana Network's what I'm stuck with, so that's what we're going to stay with. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey because I was in choir in school for about 8 years. And once I graduated high school, I just stopped. Like I still sang in my spare time, but I stopped doing it every day in training. And then getting back into it has been a really interesting journey because I thought my singing sucked. Like I knew where I was when I trained for 8 years, and then I looked at where I was now, and I'm like, wow, so much has changed. And to revisit that and to like basically relearn how to ride a bike has been very fun for me, and it's been a great experience in terms of aiding to my craft as a voice actor.
Yeah. So going into that now, how did you get into voice acting?
Well, it's actually really funny because when we started the radio, I thought that, I'll do the radio for a little bit and then I'll become a voice actress. Because I was, I've been in the same shoes as those 13-year-old weeboos being like, I'm just going to be an anime voice actress and that's all I'm going to be. But, through the radio and through these interviews, I learned that it takes a lot more than that. And I kind of stepped back and reevaluated, do I really want to work in acting? And there was that time where the radio was where I found all of my joy. So I didn't need to seek anything else out. And then I believe in 2014, 2013, Chris Niosi, our choreographer, approached me and he's like, hey, I want you to be in Tome and I want you to be one of the announcers. I was like, okay. He's like, just do what you do on the show, and here are the lines. And he directed me through it, and I found the experience really fun. It was the first time I was really, directed, line by line. And when I saw the finished product, I just felt really, like a satisfaction that I hadn't felt before. And that led me to start pursuing it more seriously because I knew I could still do the radio and voiceover because they're both jobs with a pretty flexible schedule. So I began taking classes, and I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. I recently worked with Taco Bell and JCPenney, and I'm in a horror game that comes out at the end of the year that I can't say the name of. But I'm in it, and I'm really excited. Yay! So it's been a great experience. The one thing I found is that I'm not doing a lot of character stuff. I'm mostly doing commercial and narration.
Yeah. So what has been one of your favorite projects? What has been one of your favorite projects that you've been able to work on?
My favorite project was definitely the video game.
Okay.
But I can't say that there was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of crying. There was a lot of don't hurt me. Not in that voice, but
yeah.
I love anytime I get to play. Anytime that I get to really physically kind of stress myself is actually the funnest part for me. Because commercial is really just being me. It's really just, like now at JCPenney's or, that bright poppy voice or whatever it is. And then doing a character or doing something that's more emotional, especially if it's a character I can really relate to that's near my age. I feel so immersed in what I'm doing, and that's the stuff that I love.
Yeah. Definitely awesome. So, do you have any advice for anyone wanting to get into either radio or even acting or voice acting or even getting into interviewing as well? They just don't know how to?
Just do it.
No, not that. No, I was at Komori-con and I was hearing that too much. Oh.
It's gonna be for every con
don't
now
tell me that.
for the next 2 years.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It's the next. What do you call it? You've lost the game. That's what it is. So. By the way, you've lost the game.
Actually, that doesn't make me quiver as much as the Shia LaBeouf one does.
No, because you're over it now, and you'll go for the Shia LaBeouf one in 2 years. But so, I mean, I have very different answers for all of these. Radio, I strongly suggest. For anything where you're recording yourself, I strongly suggest literally sitting down, recording yourself, reading a book or whatever else, and then listening back. And do it 20 minutes to an hour every day. The best advice I was ever told, if you're serious about anything to do with your voice, is if you're not spending at least 7 hours a week on it, then you're not serious. And I still think that's very true. Because you want to work on your voice control, your breathing control, you want to, for radio and interviewing specifically, you kind of want to work on your improv and just your the way you converse with other people, and what quirks of yours that make you that you can keep and kind of hone them. And that's a very weird saying when I say that, but for example, when I initially started, I thought my giggle was really obnoxious, but I had fans who were, when I was trying to do it less, tell me, no, keep doing that, like it's cute, or like, it's a part of you, or it means you're having fun. So when you're on radio or when you are doing an interview, you don't want to be super monotone, like, how did you do this? Like, you need to bring some of yourself to the show or to the interview. That would be my advice for radio and interviewing. For voiceover, everyone in the world will tell you to take classes. Everyone in the world will tell you to start in acting. I didn't. I did drama club 1 year in middle school, and I did theater class 1 year in high school. So that was about it. And I wasn't in any major productions. I just kind of liked messing around and stuff. But, radio gave me a confidence that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else because I had to just go. And that's going to be the hardest struggle, I think, with people who want to get into voice, is that they really have to put themselves out there in a very emotional state sometimes. And that can be scary. And sometimes doing it in front of your family isn't actually very helpful because your family can be very judgmental, or they can be like, that's cute, sweetie. So my biggest advice for acting, and this helps with radio and interviewing too, is improv.
Yeah.
Or get your friends together and play Cards Against Humanity.
Oh boy.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Games like Cards Against Humanity, where you read the card out, especially if it's a singing card or something, like, like, I sold my soul to the devil, I asked for this blank, and he gave me this blank, and then you read it for each one, and everybody takes turns, and if you change your voice around, and if you play around, in games like that, that's the best time that you're going to want to play, because you're with people that you want to have fun with, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're going to be kind of wild and reckless in anyway, because you're playing such a off the rails kind of game.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that most people won't tell you to do, but I think those are great exercises for being more free and willing to play.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree with you on that one.
Long answer is long.
Yeah, you know what they say. Long answers are good though. Long answers explain. So I know this is probably going to be a question you probably can't answer.
Okay.
But I'm just going to ask it anyway, just in case there's some other projects out there that you're either you've worked on or that you can kind of tell us about.
Okay. So let's see. I just did a telephony thing, which is an actual word. I said that the other day to somebody, and they're like, telephone? No, telephony. So whenever you have to do, press 1 to talk to so-and-so. That I recently did one of those for a book publishing company called Wellington and Stearns, and I'm actually the voice of a toy. I can't say the name of a toy, but I just finished recording on that, and it is a dancing prehistoric animal, and I'm very excited for that. That is the first time that I got to play around, and I'm really excited because they did say they'll send me a prototype, so I'll get to have a toy that has my voice, and I will bug the crap out of my cat with that. So those are the things that I recently did and I have coming up. Everything else I sadly can't talk about.
Yeah, I totally understand that. So if you guys want to keep in touch with Kana or even 91.8 The Fan, you can keep in touch with their Twitter with 91.8 The Fan Twitter at twitter.com/918 The Fan, on Facebook 91.8 The Fan, and their YouTube page, which is 91.8 The Fan as well. And also, if you want to keep track of what's going on with Kana as well, you can check out her actual website. Thank you. Her actual website is JackieFlorian.com. And the Facebook page is facebook.com/JackieFlorianVO, and Instagram.com/JackieFlorian. Twitter.com/Kana Network, and YouTube.com/Kana Network. So if you guys just want to keep in contact right there, all what I just said right now, all the links will be in the description below. So yeah, so don't worry about that.
The cool thing about my Instagram and my YouTube is I post up pictures and vlogs from the various conventions I go to. I go to about 20 a year. So in case you want to see all of the weird, wacky adventures I have across the United States, feel free to follow.
All right, cool. So as I said before, all of the links will be in the description below as well. So if you guys want to keep in contact, I definitely will recommend especially if you guys haven't checked it out yet, 91.8 The Fan. They play really cool music, and I don't just say that because of reasons, but because they actually do play some really, really good music and everything else there too. So yeah. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Jackie, for coming on the show.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. It's very rare to switch places.
Yeah, I bet. So thank you again. So just remember, everybody, you've been listening to the Epic Awesome Show. This has been Zain and
Jackie Florian, Arcana.
And you've been listening to the Epic Awesome Show. And we'll see you guys on the flip side.